ain't for you. People always looking at me like she ain't got a clue. Yeah, I'm corny as they come, but I'm pretty deep. Marching at the sound of his tongue, then I hit the knees. I'm unpopular, yeah, I'm unpopular. She's unpopular, yeah, she's unpopular. It's unpopular, yeah, it's unpopular. It's unpopular, yeah. It's unpopular. What up, Unpop, and welcome back to another one. If this is your first time, welcome to Unpopulr, where I talk about things that are a little unpopular, how I'm unpopular, my thoughts are a little unpopular as well, and how unpopular different things are concerning Christianity. So, I am different. My God is magnificent. The enemy, belligerent. Yet Christ is still magnificent. So if you like it, hit that bell and subscribe. So today I have a special guest. She's a spoken word artist who has been featured on multiple stages like P4CM, Passion for Christ Movement, the PIA Poets in Autumn Tour, and most recently the Essence Holiday Special. She is also the author of Done Being Strong. It is my pleasure to welcome on the show Jasmine Sims. I've been following you on IG for a couple of years now, and I just love the work that you've been doing. It's awesome, sis.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. All right, so congratulations on all the accomplishments that you've been making. You just performed at the Essence Holiday Special 2023. I think they were sponsored by Target as well, so it was like a partnership with them. Please tell us all of the best moments that you had on stage, behind stage, the car right there, all the things.
Man, I think the best moments, one, I would have to say just kind of my mindset going into it. I was telling a few of my friends, like, this has been a very long journey of just chasing the dream, and doing different things like that. And so I think one of the best parts of it really was the fact that I felt ready. I didn't feel worried, insecure, or anything like that. I really just felt like I was prepared for what came about. And so being on stage was great. Sharing the stage with such big names was amazing. I was obsessed with my dress, so everything.
It was bomb. It was banging. So you've been writing for a really long time. And I see that you say that family and teachers helped kind of foster that and cultivate that. Can you talk about who specifically? I'm really curious, especially about the teachers, like who was instilling that in you?
So funny story. It was eighth grade, and I wrote what I call a terrible poem. Like the whole thing rhymed. I'm not a big rhyming person, but
Okay.
it was literally like come to the realization this is God's creation. Like it was just really, really bad. It was I lost the poem, and
Mhm.
my teacher found it. His name was Mr. Sylvester. And
Mm.
he found the poem, and he was like, "Did you write this?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I think it's really good. You have a gift." He ended up publishing the
Mm.
poem. Every year, the teachers could submit writings from the students. And so that year, he published my poem in like the teacher's anthropology of poetry.
Mm.
Then in high school, my uncle David, he knew about the Boys and Girls Club, and they had a spoken word program. And they were taking, I think it may have been my sophomore year, like that
Mhm.
summer. They were taking kids up to UW Madison because they had a creative arts program, and they were trying to expose kids to different crafts and that you could get, you know, tuition covered and all of these different
Oh,
things.
wow.
And he was like, they're going up to W Madison for the weekend. I was like, okay, sure, I'll go. Mind you, my personality has not changed. If I don't know you, I'm not talking. Like I was very much like in my own little box. And so we go to Madison that weekend, and the coach, her name was Lakita Caldwell. She was like, "Does anybody want to perform tonight? We're going to a high school. It'll be like 400 kids there." And I've probably said 3 words this whole trip. I was like, "I'll do it." And they were
Wow.
like, "Are you sure? We haven't heard you talk."
This
And I was
entire
like,
time.
so yeah, like I'm not scared. Like I'm not talking because I'm scared of y'all.
Mhm.
So I got on stage. I did that creation poem, the one that they loved it. Like, well, they acted like they loved it. And so Lakita is another woman in Milwaukee called Dasha Kelly who kind of They will work with teens every week. And I ended up teaching a few workshops in high schools when I was in college. So yeah, and my family's super supportive. They help me. If I ain't had no money to get merch, they'll put up the money. I'll do
Yeah.
shows at my church. They come to my shows. So I've been extremely blessed to have that in my life.
Is there anybody else that's creative or artistic with their words in your family?
So that year in 8th grade, my grandfather passed, but we were all
Mm,
at my grandma's house. And out the clear blue, my auntie goes, "Did you know Grandpa George used to write poetry?" And I was like, "No,"
wow.
because nobody else was a poet. Now, my dad's side of the family, they all can sing their butts off. They all can
Mhm.
really sing. My dad was really creative. Like he was the one in charge of decorating. He loved to get dressed. My brother is also extremely creative. So there's a lot in
The
my family.
creativity is there.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
I
that's
may
awesome.
be one of the only poets, unless somebody is writing and I don't know about it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
My family is mostly musically inclined for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, there's probably some closeted, poets because I'm a closeted poet. A lot of people don't like I don't even say poet. I like to call myself a fake poet. It's because to say I'm a poet is like it would diminish all of your work and all of the people who are really doing the work to
No, I
like
don't no, it
craft
won't.
it. I think it will.
If you write poetry, you a poet.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I don't agree, but I do I do appreciate it. So you've been doing freestyle poetry.
Mhm,
For people who don't know what that is, talk about what that is and when did you learn that you could even do it? Like
mhm,
it is absolutely amazing. I've seen you do it. I'm like, whoa, like you're really creating a piece of work right before our eyes.
mhm.
And it's comprehensive and it makes sense and it's beautiful. And I'm like, how in the world? Like, clearly a gift.
Yeah. So freestyle poetry is basically creating a spoken word piece, telling a story on the spot. I've been doing it I've been doing it for longer than it's been public. My friend caught me. So
Hmm.
I grew up in a black church. And when you grow up in a black church and you have any skill set, you're gonna get called upon at any given moment.
Yep.
And so because that was my surrounding, I learned stay ready. You ain't
So
gotta
you
get
gotta
ready if
get ready. Come on.
you ain't gotta
Mhm.
get embarrassed.
Mhm.
And so I think that was one component of it. The second component of it is I just have a highly imaginative mind
Mm,
nonstop.
mm.
Um, and so I would say I learned that I was doing it. So it was at one of the weekly writing workshops that I would go to in high school, and I had a whole poem prepared. I had a crush on this boy, and I was about to just confess through this in my little raggedy journal. I was about to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was fun.
Mhm.
Thankfully, that didn't happen. One of the teachers came up to me. She took my book. She was like, "Dream puzzle. You have 20 seconds to think of something." And I just made something up. And I was like, "Oh, I can do this." And
Wait,
so
did you say dream puzzle? What's that?
mhm. She just made it up. She just gave me 2 words.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I
So
had
so
20
she
seconds.
put you on the spot and just was but you hadn't practiced before, you haven't done this before. This was just like
Nope.
okay. I just wanna make sure I'm clear.
I was about to tell my crush I like him through a poem I had been
Right,
working on all week.
right.
7 days of my heart.
Wow.
And he didn't to this day, he don't get to hear it. So I made up a poem. He really liked it, and I think that is kinda when I became aware of it, and
Mm.
so before then, I was really only freestyling if I forgot parts of my poem, I wanted to change something while I was on stage because I would edit things while I was on stage, like, "I don't really like this word.
Wow.
Hopefully, the word will come to me when I get on stage," and so
Wow.
just as I've grown and developed the craft and kind of just my ear and sensitivity, it now is used in a more minstrel form, because you can always pick up things in the audience or what they're feeling or like different things like that. And so I try to leave room for it. Yes, it's fun, it can be impressive, but it can also really, get a message to somebody who really, really needs it. That
In that
sometimes,
moment, yeah.
yeah, pre-written work doesn't necessarily do it all the time.
Interesting. So, there's a few things that I feel like I hear when I hear that is that people teachers, it sounds like specifically, were seeing something in you that maybe you saw in yourself, but maybe you didn't. And they were helping kind of pull that out of you.
Mhm.
That's wild. Like the fact that she just like randomly, like what I don't know. I'm a very curious kind of person. I like to know all the details. Sometimes I'm a little too detailed, but I'm curious. Like I wondered, was she doing this with other students? Like this is a thing that she does. If not, then that feels like it was
Yeah.
so specific and special to you.
Not that I can remember, honestly.
Wow,
Not not that I can remember. It could be something that she does randomly. It could have been a random idea. But yeah, so like when I hear people say, you know, if you don't believe in you, nobody else will. I'm like, that ain't true. It takes other
that
people
part.
seeing something in you that you don't see that you're
That's
able to
good.
cultivate and develop. So
That's good. Mm,
yeah.
see, we didn't even get deep yet, and you already deep dive. I love it. So we are in a day and age where being transparent is more popular, but it wasn't always popular.
Mhm.
And there's a piece that you have, let me see here. There's a piece that you have called Backstage. And I feel like when I hear it, it speaks to just transparency of a person showing up unfinished, unready, not perfect. Like you can be that way. Can you speak a little bit to that piece, and also do you do you feel like we can actually be ourselves in all spaces, like at all times?
No.
Talk about that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Mm,
Um, which is kind of why I wrote Backstage. So Backstage, it's a love poem, but it's also not a love poem. So when it comes to performing and art and being on a stage, being in leadership,
mm,
being the strong person, being the matriarch, really any position that if you were to be vacant, everybody would feel it, whatever that word is. That's what Backstage is about.
mm,
Because I don't necessarily have the ideal personality to be on stage, to
hmm.
be in the light.
Oh boy, here we go.
I
Mm.
don't have I'm not like if somebody was looking around like they needed a poster girl, they would not pick me and I would not volunteer. like
She said, and I wouldn't volunteer.
we're not even gonna have to go back and forth about this. Like
Mm,
have I don't have that personality.
mm,
And so Backstage was about that. Like, if I'm not able to be this extroverted, outgoing, bare all, tell all my secrets to everybody for whatever reason, be it noble or selfish,
mm.
am I still worthy of love? Am I still able to go out on the stage and do what I'm called to be? Like once you see the parts of me that's not all
It's
smiley,
not
once
favorable.
you
Yeah.
see once you see the parts of me where I don't make my voice go up an octave to make you feel more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
all of who I am still supposed to be loved. So that's kind of the premise of Backstage because when you go backstage at these shows, like we're not being deep.
Mm.
Like, I'm goofing off, I'm asleep, I'm hiding, like I'm eating
Mhm,
snacks. Like when I'm
mhm,
backstage, there is none of the performative. The dresses, they come off backstage. The
yeah,
makeup, it comes off backstage. Like backstage is where all of my humanity gets to exist.
mm.
Um, so that's the premise of that piece.
I love that, especially in the kind of work that I've been doing, whether I'm freelancing or working for somebody full time. I remember working for a job where I was like, I wanna just be myself, all of it. Like, I am
Mhm,
super goofy. Sometimes I'm really quiet. Sometimes I'm really random. Like, I want people to see all these things and then kind of see all the different talents and skill sets that I have that
mhm,
a lot of people will realize, like, oh, we didn't even know you did that. And then a piece of me will be like, well, if you got to know me more, but then it's just like, well, you didn't show it. So it goes both ways. And maybe that place or that space didn't make me feel comfortable enough. But then again, I put it back on myself, like, well, you should make sure you feel comfortable enough to show up. And
mhm,
so it's interesting, that you say that because I feel like that's something that I've personally battled with my whole life, really. Especially, I'm a voiceover artist as well. And so, especially when it comes to that, there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, man, I don't want to feel like I have to do my voice this particular way to get a gig. But then I thought about it and was like, well, technically I'm acting. So if I'm acting out this particular piece, it's okay.
Mhm.
So and then sometimes I think we have to think about our why. I'm really big on whys. And sometimes I get stuck at the why. So sometimes
Mhm.
sometimes we can't get stuck there and need to keep moving. But I think about the why of, well, why did I go up an octave? Did I
Mhm.
do it because I think they want it that way, or did I do it because it's expressing me?
Mhm.
And also background. I'm from Portland, Oregon. Okay, so white man's land. All right,
Yep.
um, but like let's just call it what it is. Um, but yeah, so I've definitely battled with that. Battle with the whole like, yeah, we could totally get into all of that, but I I I love that piece, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we got to talk about that." And I like how you are literally saying like, "This is what it's like backstage," and so this
Mhm.
is how it should be. Like, yeah. So are there space? So when are there spaces and times where you feel like you can't be as authentically you and just like transparent?
Right, can't be.
Cannot be. Yeah.
Child, social media for one.
Yeah.
I think but I think part of it comes down to the specifics of the person, right?
Mhm.
So, I'm really big on relationship. And so, one, realizing that when you're on a stage or when you're on social media, people are naturally going to feel closer to you
Mm.
than what they really are.
Mhm.
And so what that means is you are interacting with people who feel like they have a friendship with you that you don't have with them.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So and so
That
it
is so
becomes
that's hilarious.
hello? It becomes tricky to navigate because I don't want to be unkind,
Sure.
but at the same time, we not
You
homies.
gotta cut it. Yeah, I feel it.
So there are boundaries. There are topics. There are things that you are simply not entitled to. And so over the past few years, I've stopped being as transparent on social media as I have been because of that reason.
Mhm.
Because of the way that I am set up and wired, I can't. It
Yeah.
becomes mentally and emotionally draining for me to put myself in a position where I have to cater to people who are going to question everything about me because
Yeah.
I don't show up in the mold that they've created for me.
Right. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when you're a believer, everything goes back to,
Mm.
are you representing Christ? Do you believe in God? Da, 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 da.
Mm.
And it's just like as human beings, we're all multifaceted.
Mhm.
And so I always like to use the plant analogy because I'm a plant mama, right?
Mhm.
Where, where it's like if you want to see a certain side of somebody, a certain part of somebody, you can't
Mm.
stand it.
Mm.
Like I can't walk up to my plant and say, "You need to produce some new leaves."
Mm.
Why
Mm.
aren't you producing new leaves? That's what
Yeah.
you're supposed to do. No, I have to create an environment that is conducive to for its growth.
Mhm.
And
Come
so,
on. That's
if you
relationship,
want
boy. That's good.
okay.
Mm.
So if you want somebody authentic, you want somebody to be soft, you want somebody to be vulnerable, you want somebody to be goofy, are you creating an environment where that
Love that.
side of them is safe enough to grow and flourish?
So good. So
Um,
good.
yeah, and so I feel like the places it just depends on what the environment is in that moment, but I've also come to realize that every part of me is authentic to who I am. So
Mhm.
whether if I'm being goofy in
Yes.
that moment or if I'm not, if I'm being
Yeah.
serious, I'm not being inauthentic. I'm
Right.
not being afraid. This is just who needs to show up
At this time. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
for my safety and for the task at hand. I'm a very
Mhm.
goofy person. I'm a
Mhm.
big kid at heart. Everybody may not see that side of me,
Yep.
but also everybody doesn't need to see that side of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and it's always interesting when they see it, they go, "I didn't know you were so silly." And it's just like everybody is multifaceted. Nobody has just one side that they live in.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
nobody
And we don't
works.
and we don't owe that to everybody. I've had to learn that,
Yeah.
like, on both ends. I've had to learn that whenever, yeah, I've had to learn that boundaries has been a big lesson for me this year.
Mhm.
God was like, "You not good with that." You're not
This
you let
relationship.
everybody in. I'm very Yeah, I like to like I said, transparent. Like I've always been like that since I was young. Like what most people would say overshare. And it's just like
Mhm.
I just don't mind. I don't care. Maybe they did and maybe they feel like, but as far as like proximity, like everybody doesn't need to have it. So it's not that I don't feel like you can't have it. God is now telling me everybody can't have that for where I'm taking you. And I'm like, ooh. And that is
Everybody can't have all access. This ain't
this
all
ain't all
access.
access, and it's hard because I'm so, like when especially when I learn something new, I wanna share it. I wanna be like, "Oh my god, did
Mm,
you know?" Like, I get so excited, but God is like, "No, that's not the season we in right now." Like, and you may not be back at this season, but, like, that's not what we doing. And
yeah.
then speaking to, feeling like entitlement. That's what it is. Social media has told us that like we're entitled to like have certain pieces of people. I remember
Yeah.
I did a big move to where I'm at now. I'm not gonna say right now, but to where I'm at, and I remember some people, like, God was like, "I don't need you to share that right now. I need you to just do it." And a
Man.
lot of people were offended. A lot of people were. A few people literally like, "Yo, you kinda sneaky. You didn't tell nobody you didn't." And I'm like, so, like, I have to, and at the same time, I get how it could be a little bit like it. I think because my personality is so much, sharing,
Mhm.
sharing, sharing. So then when you stop, it is kind of like, oh, like
It goes against the
this
pattern
is
you set.
different. Why but again, like um there's different parts to me and those parts are changing and evolving and stretching. And so if
Mhm.
God is now saying, "Hey, this is what it is." And I feel like I've just arrived where a lot of people have already been, in terms of like
Yeah.
what they will share and what they won't share on social media. You have a line that says, "I'm teaching my affection not to overstay her welcome."
Yes.
Um, I just spoke a little bit to that for me, but God has been teaching me so many things this year. And one of them is, again, the boundaries. And I feel like this could actually apply to a lot of platonic relationships for myself, like friendships,
Mhm.
where I overstay my welcome. Like, you need to,
Mhm.
like, and let me say, most people are welcoming. They want me to be there, but I have to be the one to realize like it's time to go back because I'll be here too
Mhm.
long. Like, even though it
Yeah.
is being welcomed, if that makes sense. But
Mhm.
but you were talking about it, I believe, from a more romantic standpoint.
Mhm.
Is there a particular, and obviously you don't have to give me specifics, but was there a particular event or a particular relationship that prompted that, or is it like multiple relationships?
Multiple, one
Mm,
catalyst.
mm,
I'll put it
mhm.
that way. So it's like when you keep making the same mistake, but the consequences are like, "I could live with this." Like, these are
I can
livable.
live with this consequence.
These these are livable consequences.
I'm done.
And then and then you do it one more time, and it's just like, "Oh, I can't live with this."
Oh, snap. That's funny. I gotta write that one down.
Thank you.
Livable consequence.
That's the light went off right at the time too,
Mm,
like, "Oof." Like, tell
mm,
you. Um, that's more so what it was. And so and so I think part of it is, and I've had this conversation before where I always ask people like, "Do you think that you were raised on love or survival?"
mm,
Uh, because I was raised
mm,
on love. I grew up in a very safe place. I grew up where I could trust the decisions and motives of the people raising
mm,
me.
mm.
Um, and so coming into a world where that wasn't the
That's common.
case,
Yeah.
where it's common to interact with people to scratch an itch. That's not what I was used
Mhm.
to. And so it takes you a long time to realize you're simply the scratch that's appeasing the
Mm,
itch.
mm. Yikes.
Because for me, if I don't like you, I'm not gonna talk to you,
It's not gonna be
like, at all.
unclear. Yeah.
And so for me talking to guys and it's like, "You don't like me, but you reach out to me." I'm so
Mm,
confused. Like, it took me maybe I was
mm,
slow or naive or, like,
mm,
fairy tale land, but it took me a while where I'm just like, "I don't understand." And people would talk to me and be like, "Well, well, they're just getting what they could get." And I'm just
wow.
like, "What about
Yeah.
me? Like, what's the other person? Like, are we not considering does the other person simply not exist? Are they not real? Are they not human? Are we not all because we went to church together?
Mm,
Like, are we not
mhm,
reading the same book about character and considering others and kindness?" And I'm just it didn't make sense to
mhm,
me. And so it took me a long time to get to a place where I'm just like, "Oh, okay. I have to make the decisions for myself because nobody else is considering me in this relationship. Nobody is really looking out for me. So when you say you got me, you actually don't got me.
mhm,
All you got is
mhm.
yourself, which is why I'm being sacrificed."
Yikes,
Um,
man.
and so what it does is when you're consistently in these relationships, friends, whatever the case, because like most of my poems are romantic, but they can be applied across the board, and that's what I hope people will do with them is realize they're not just reserved for one situation. Um, but what it does over time is like, and I've talked to women who start to feel like they're the problem, right? Something's wrong with me. I have to change something, and like, yeah, we all will always have places to grow in, but it's also like sometimes we make choices and we choose relationships that subconsciously feed our insecurities. And so we start to feel like we're the problem. But we're the problem in the place of our
Mhm,
choices. You can be an amazing
mhm.
woman. Somebody still ain't gonna want you. You can be incredible, but they don't have to want you. They don't have they don't
Yep.
have to. You're not entitled to a good relationship because you're a good woman. That's just the reality of the
Yeah.
situation. So instead of going, well, maybe I'm the problem or I'm too this or I'm not enough this, maybe you need to teach your affections to stop overstaying their
Mhm,
welcome.
mhm.
And so the last line of that poem is like, before I even go cook this meal,
Are
are
you
you hungry
was
for what
like,
I have?
"Yo, she is so good." Yes.
I'm like, because we cooked them a good meal. Were they
Right,
hungry? Did they want what you were serving?
right. Mhm.
Because then they're no longer the problem.
You didn't assess.
They're the problem as far as they keep accepting these
Mhm.
meals.
But you didn't assess that maybe they don't even want what you serving up. Yeah. Mhm,
Right. And so, yes, I think it goes both ways. I think we need to be people of integrity. And so, if you don't want somebody, you need to be honest. But we can't force everybody to be honest.
ooh.
And so, yeah, and so it gets to that place where it's like, cool, you could keep yourself together physically. You could be working on your mentality. Your body could be amazing. But sis, that don't mean they gotta want you.
Mm-mm.
They don't have
How
to
many
want you.
beautiful women have we seen cheated on, man? It's like, wow. Yeah.
Are you
Mhm,
hungry?
mhm.
And do you want the chicken? Do you want salmon? Are you vegan?
We talking a leg, a thigh, a breast,
Like, what are we
a
talking
two-piece,
about?
what you
Like,
want? Yeah.
so this way, when I bring it and we've discussed the
Mhm,
requirements, you're without excuse not to
mhm,
accept because you said
mhm.
this is what you
Yeah.
wanted.
Alright. Since you brought us here, you brought us here. Here we are.
She
I
blaming
I
me.
am. I am. Nah, relationships. Men versus women, boy versus girl. The battle just it never gets old. Um, I have a lot to say when it comes to these conversations that I see online, and I've yet to really express them, and I will at some point, in due time. But when it comes to this conversation of a high valued man and a high valued woman, and and even like, and I get it, sometimes it's just like fun talk, but like even like things like soft life and different things like that. What are some of your opinions around some of these trendy conversations? And the thing is, social media has just highlighted it. We were already kind of doing it like in our own smaller communities,
Yeah.
but social media has, pushed it to a bigger stage. What are some of your thoughts around, I guess, one, just like the trendy conversations, and then two, when it comes to just like this high, specifically the high value woman and man? What are some of your thoughts around that?
Whenever I hear those terms, I check
Yeah.
out. I or like beta and alpha, and I'm just like, "Guys," I'm like, "Guys, we're not a wolf pack. Like, we're not animals."
Well,
I
some
just
people believe we are, so it depends on who we're talking to, sis. It depends.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just mid-value or I don't know. Um, I hate it. I hate it
Yeah.
because I absolutely
Yeah.
hate it. One, I feel like one minute I just think we need to accept the reality that we need each other. Like there
Those
is
are
no
fighting words,
way
sis. Careful. Those are fighting words. Women, a
there's
lot of women and men do not want to admit that truth, I think.
well, then they're gonna be having the same arguments until they're gonna at the funeral. They're gonna be having the
Yikes.
exact same debates and arguments. It's just a hamster
Mm,
wheel. We need each other. We were created specifically the way that we were to complement
yeah.
each other, not bump heads with
Mhm.
each other. But we're so stuck on trying to be heard by the other person. No one's trying to hear the other person. And so I'm like, we're not going to reach a place of peace until we understand that we need each
Yeah.
other. We need each other. I do not understand. So yeah, the whole high value, and I think part of that, I hate to be the person who always blames social media, but I do believe that part of that is what we begin to see online because we can create any aesthetic that we want. And I think we've associated a life of ease with a certain amount of money. And which I mean to a point is
Right.
true, right? To have everything on auto pay and not even like
Easy peasy, like
I'll take it.
convenience.
I'll take it,
Mhm.
right? Certain level. Do I think that as human beings we're extremists? And
Mm.
so that place where you do have this ease, though that is attainable, we're greedy. So now you have to make an absurd amount of
Mhm.
money every year.
Mm. Mhm.
Because we're extremists. We're really bad at balance, I feel like. And so I believe that that's part of it. And I used to talk a lot about being soft and soft strength, but mine was never about a monetary place. Mine was more so about
Yep.
vulnerability and not having strength
Yep.
as an
Yep.
identity. And so when I see the high value stuff in the man and women debates, I just think that there is a lack of self awareness. And I don't think we give men the same grace for their humanity as we give ourselves and that we want for ourselves. And I think that causes a lot of
Yeah.
issues. But they be ready to crucify me.
Listen, I it's interesting. I did not know that about you. And just like how you present, I didn't catch that. But I'm very much the same way. And I'm always getting flack for it. Like I a lot of times, and it's not because I'm just biased, like, oh, it's all men are always right. Not at all. But there's a lot of situations where I'm just like, I agree with the guy here.
Points are being made.
Not like all the time, whether it could be a show, it could be a movie, it could be, and I'll just be like, she's wrong. Like, I don't like if the shoe was on the other foot, I would say he's wrong. It had nothing to do with the
Right.
gender. I'm just like, you're wrong. I call it like I see it. I try to be fair. I try to be balanced. I use that word a lot. I totally agree. We
We
are
be tripping.
extremists and
We be tripping.
straight tripping. That's what
We
it
be tripping.
is. And I agree. I always talk about one of my best friends says it better than me, but the pendulum of just like one extreme to the next, right? And I had to learn
Mhm.
that early on. One of my friends pointed that out. I was just like, you're being kind of extreme. It don't have to be all that. And like from that moment on,
Mhm.
I always like measured, like, okay, am I being extreme right now? I know I'm a lot. I can be dramatic. There's some dramatics in me, but that's personality, not in terms of like my decision making and my
Mhm.
integrity and my character. Um, So yeah, there's got to be some balance, and I think what it is there's where we've been in this movement for a while of just women empowerment, which I'm all for, but it doesn't mean we diminish men at the same time, right? Just like when we
Right.
we want to, have, in my opinion, we want to have a lot of, you know how do you say it? Well, basically, just like in the black community, you're seeing a lot of us have a lot more pride, and
Mhm.
understand the needs of our community a lot better, because a lot of people didn't understand it. They just thought we're
Yeah.
complaining, and we're just no, like, the truth is coming out, and so you see that black empowerment rise, but that doesn't mean we have to diminish other people, because then we're just doing the exact same thing, right? So,
Exactly.
and it's perfect, actually. I did not plan this, but it's a perfect segue to talk about, I feel like your work, you talk a lot about, or I won't say you talk a lot about, but I feel like your work expresses how prideful you are to be a black woman, and how prideful you are to be a
Mhm.
part of the black community, and talk about what black love is to you, and then what you think it might mean to all of us, for some people who don't get it, or who might feel
Mhm.
offended by it.
Yeah. Man, people who offended, take it to the master. But for me, Black love represents
Mm,
resilience because I think about, thinking about racism and slavery and all of those things, the first thing they did was separate the family. Is that they just created this division. And so even so at the beginning of this nation and what, was kind of the genesis of Black culture, because we kind of had to take the scraps of what we were able to redeem after all of these years of such evil. um Black love, it still exists because that was the only thing that was able to carry a people through. And so to me, Black love is resilience. Black love is
mm,
soft because I feel like, in this world, in this society, so many Black people, we can't be soft in certain
mhm,
spaces. Like we can't.
mhm,
We just
mhm,
can't. And so for me, when you see two people who genuinely love each other, there's a softening of both the man and the
mhm,
woman. There should be a softening that takes place because now they're
mhm,
safe, right? Like I shouldn't have to be in survival mode when I'm with you. He shouldn't have to be in survival mode when he's with me. So Black love actually represents softness for
mhm,
me. Even the toughness of our culture.
mhm,
Like even the toughness in our demeanor and how we talk and how we laugh, like to me, that's a place of
mhm,
safety.
mhm,
It's a place of safety to me. So Black love is resilience. It's soft. It is joy. Black folk are funny.
mhm. Period.
We know how to have a
Period.
good time. We gonna crack a joke.
Mhm,
And so as
mm,
far as, I've had some comments about people being offended when I specified like this is for my people. This is for Black people. I've had those comments, but to me it doesn't phase me because you're not the audience. And you not being the audience means that there is a part of this that you don't understand. And I have nothing love. Listen, love who you want to love. Go where the love is. If it ain't working for you here, listen, get loved. I don't care. But my work, I will always uplift the Black unit of
mm,
love because I feel like once we're able to get that part straight, a lot of the, like we talked about, the gender feuds, the gender wars would become, once I genuinely love you, a lot of that stuff becomes irrelevant.
mhm,
Once I genuinely put your well-being above my own, a lot of these debates become
mhm,
stupid. Because I think it's easy to talk a big game when we come to these debates and these arguments. But when a man enters my life and I love him and I love him and I'm safe with
yeah.
him, if you need me to go half on the meal because you got something going on,
Sis,
I will cover
you gonna
you
make me jump out of this
because
chair. I told you there's different parts of me. You gon'
because life is hard for everybody.
they're
For
human though. Can they
everybody.
be human
They're
though?
Can they be human? You ain't ever needed somebody to cover half of your meal?
Golly, I'll be like, yo. Okay, so okay, 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 okay. Since we here, we okay. So So then I'm assuming I know your opinion on this, but I still want you to elaborate. There's like the woman, there was somebody I think on the Breakfast Club, and she was just like certain first dates like are not cool. And I think
Mm.
was it Pastor Mike? It was somebody that was like explaining, kind of trying to break it down to her. So like when it comes to like for like I have my response, but I'm gonna let you go first. When it comes to first dates or certain expectations that you're expecting kind of in that beginning stage, what are some of the like either you can speak to that specific situation, or what are some of the expectations that you have that you're like, yeah, nah, absolutely not, or it's just like, yeah, no big deal, like it's all good
On a first date,
on the first like few weeks. You can go first date, but just like that getting to know stage.
I have no expectations.
We're done. The interview is over. We don't need to say anything else.
Because
Thank you.
I'm coming into something that's
Oh my
unknown.
god.
And because I don't know you, I can't hold you to a standard yet because I don't know what you live by.
I'm gonna come down.
I don't know what you live by.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hold you to a standard because you haven't shown me how you live your life. Now, we talking you've had enough time to learn me and I've had enough time to learn
Mm,
you. Then things start getting a little bit
mm.
like, come on,
You know,
what are
you
we
know,
doing?
you know better. You know
You
better. You do
now you
better.
know
Yeah, that's good.
first dates are like pop quizzes. Well, what's the test called when you're like coming into a new grade and they're trying to see where you are so they can
Oh, I
place you
know.
where you need to be?
Yeah, like place. Girl,
Assessment
what
test.
is it?
An
What is it?
assessment.
Assessment. That's it. That's the one.
The first date, the first few weeks, this is your assessment. So I'm gonna give you, we just go. I'm gonna put the paper down, give you your pop quiz, and I'm gonna just be
Mm-hmm.
quiet because I'm gonna see how you
Mm-hmm.
move. And so once I learn how you move, and if I decide to stay, the standards are based on what I've
Mm-hmm.
gathered. And as things change, we grow and we
Right.
navigate. Because I'm a simple girl, child. I
Yeah.
don't. I have. Yeah. I mean, I don't. I just. And two, why do we have standards that we aren't even
That
showing
is
ourselves?
you don't know how many conversations I have had with people about that very thing. I'm like, and I will hear so many women like, "Nuh-uh, he gotta be," and then he gotta, and then at most, oh, absolutely no. And I'll be thinking to myself, didn't you like do that last week though? Like, huh? Like we,
That
if you want us to be so equal, like you need to like the playing.
You gotta bring me flowers. You haven't had flowers in your house in 2 years. Why you gotta bring it to me? Why?
See,
Why you gotta bring it to me?
I will not be a plant mom. Your girl's not good at it, so I don't. You don't even to bring flowers over here for me. I'm not good at it.
I'm
I
just
want to
saying,
be,
the last time
but
you tried, you took them at an event because they were free. Like, you know, it's not even the honestly, you're not even setting the standard. What are we doing? Because
yes,
he might be the observant type. Because like you would shut up so fast. She'd be like, "Babe, why you don't buy me no flowers?" And he'd be like, "I've known you for 2 years and you've never gotten yourself
right,
flowers. I didn't think you like
right,
them because I've never seen you incorporate them into your
yeah,
life." What if he's the observant type and he's like, "Oh, but I bought you this because you always getting this, and this."
right,
And that now we mad.
yeah. It's just, yeah. We could go down this for a while, so I'm just going. I'm gonna leave that there. But I'm glad that I love that you don't have expectations when it comes to that first date. But later on, after the assessment has been made, then
I have
then you
expectations
have expectations. That makes total 100% sense, and it's fair. Like fairness is so important to me. It's fair. I love that.
because I don't want him to expect me to show up with a batch of home cooked cookies, and I don't know if that's what you into.
Oh,
Didn't know you wanted me to bake you some baked goods the first date.
because it's just like, why would you? Yeah, come on. See, listen, we gotta move on because we have to.
A two-part episode.
That part. So obviously you are a marvelous poet and spoken word artist, but you also, not only do you perform, you teach it and you coach it, and then you also help with creatives kind of understanding their calling. Why is one's calling from God important to understand, and why is that something that you are coaching people in?
I think it's something that is important to understand. One, because it's kind of it's a good clarifier for your identity to not get attached to
Mhm.
that, to kind of keep it separate, right? Like, yes, I am a poet. I love poetry. I love writing, but that's not the totality of who I am. It's a big part. Like, don't get me wrong. It's a huge part of who I am, but it's not the
Mhm.
source of who I
Mhm.
am. And it's important for me to teach people that because there are things that I feel like I kind of learned through trial and error, which I'm thankful for. But sometimes if I could help people to let them know, like, it's a cliff over there, it's icy over there, it's
Don't
rocks
step on
right,
that.
like, don't do
Mhm.
that. Like, you could bump your head over here, but I wouldn't recommend it over here.
Don't do it.
Uh, so I try to help too, and I think sometimes we can get we can put callings in a box.
Mm. Ooh.
And so we convince ourselves that
Mm.
I'm supposed to be a poet.
Mhm. Mm. Mm. Mm.
Maybe you're not supposed to be a poet. You
That's
know,
good.
like
Mm.
maybe you do have a gift with words and writing and telling stories, but that doesn't mean that poetry is
The
necessarily
vehicle to do
attached
it,
to that.
yeah.
Not the vehicle to do it in.
Mm.
And so sometimes I think we get so caught up on calling and purpose, we're missing out on so many opportunities to live. We're missing out on so many opportunities for God to be developing a calling in you that you haven't
Mm.
seen. For like we just don't know. Like I know that my poetry is very different than what's common.
Mhm.
I know that I am trying to do things that I haven't necessarily seen. So I don't always have a blueprint for what I'm doing. I don't always know what I'm doing. I'm just like, I feel like this is it, Lord. Is this you? Okay, I think so. If it's not, I hope you'll tell me. So I'm gonna just keep, like, so I'm just kind of navigating that. But because my identity is not attached on that, I don't feel
That's so
lost
good. Oh,
in my awareness.
but what about when other people have that kind of a mindset, and so they're putting you in a box? What would you say to people like that? Like, you got merch, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was one of the questions. Like, I need to get me what was it? Rest is holy. That's I'm
Hmm.
getting one. You might start a whole fragrance line. You might go in a whole different direction, but people are gonna be like, "But you're a poet.
Hmm.
But you're a poet." And I get we're kind of in a hyphenated time now. We say
Hmm.
a lot of stuff in these conversation and on podcasts and on TV and stuff, but when I'm in the rooms and in the spaces, I'm like, I don't really always see the stuff that we be talking about, if I'm honest.
Yep.
So what do you say to that?
That part.
What do you say to it's
Keep watching. Keep
mm,
watching. Listen, when I tell you the amount of ideas and templates and things that I have in my mind,
mhm,
but this is why I do coaching because I tell people, like, there are no
mm,
rules. My friends laugh at me. My motto is who gonna check me?
mm,
Who gonna tell me I can't? Like,
there you go.
who's gonna tell me I can't with the power and authority to stop
Yeah.
me? I've been
Mm,
waiting. But that's also why I encourage people to build your own platform. Do not wait for a booking, a tour, a phone call. Like, what's in your
yep, yep,
hands?
yep,
What's
yep,
in your hands to do?
yep.
What is in your hands? Like, I will pull a show together so
Mhm.
fast. So fast. Child, I got my own heat press. Like,
Let's go.
nobody is gonna stop. Like, if I don't if I don't reach a goal, I won't be able to put the blame on
Right.
anybody else. I just will not. I will not. I told my mom the other day, I have children's books that I want to republish. And I just listen, right now, the illustrators ain't in the
Mm.
budget. I said, if I need to learn how to draw,
We
I
gonna
will
we
learn
gonna
how
do
to
what we
draw
gotta do.
because nobody is going to
Yeah.
stop me from doing what I feel I'm called to do. Like, there's not a soul on this earth who can
Yeah.
stop me because you didn't get this started. You didn't fund the dream. You didn't support the
Mm,
dream as much,
mm,
like, to give it
mm.
life. Like, nobody can say they built me. So can't
That's
nobody tear
so
me down. That's kind of my mentality. And
Whew.
so that's part of why I coach people because I'm like, if you could just realize that you literally have everything you
Mhm.
need. Like, I mean
Mhm.
that. I mean that with my
Mhm.
soul. I don't care if you have negative $10 in your account. You have everything that you
Yeah.
need to get
Yeah.
started. But so many people were waiting. We're waiting until we're not afraid. We're waiting for the resources.
Hello.
We're just waiting for the
2
insert.
hands was up. That was me.
And I'm just like, "For
Yeah.
what? You have everything you
Mhm.
need. The only thing stopping you is your
Mhm.
excuses." So I coach people, one, because they like we may have some people who have an entirely different calling, but they're trying to be a writer. And so through my coaching, I'll be like, hey, let's look at other
Mhm.
things. Maybe this isn't your thing. Maybe the stage isn't your
Mhm.
thing. And you have to be okay with
Mhm.
that. Maybe writing is your thing, but you may not have an audience of
Mhm.
10,000. You have to be okay with
Yeah.
that. And so coaching is really important because I know that I wouldn't be where I am without somebody on the outside coming alongside and guiding me and helping
Mhm.
me. And so I never want to be a hoarder of my
Mm.
gift. And so, yeah, I actually love coaching and teaching way more. I've always loved teaching. Like I'll do workshops.
Mm.
I love a good workshop. I live for
Teaching
it.
it
That's
or
my
gaining information from it? Attending both? Okay.
teaching. Teaching. It is so life-giving to me.
Wow.
Like, I cannot wait until I start doing writing retreats. I'm gonna be
Mm.
they're gonna see a whole 'nother side. They're gonna see the happy, smiley girl. Like, it's a whole I lo I love learning, but teaching it is just it's just
Mhm.
fun. Like, I love teaching it. But I didn't know that I would enjoy one-on-one coaching as much as I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
It's just really fun to see people get
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
and, like, to start to learn how they think so that they can do what works for
Yeah.
them.
And then on top of that, there was something that you just mentioned and, like, putting in the work. I feel like there was some words I saw somewhere on your social about putting in the work, how important that part is too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Unfortunately, I have people in my life who believe that, things are easier for me,
Hmm.
and I'm just like
I know exactly what you mean.
just like, I don't know, I can't change your mind. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I've been doing this for a very long time, and the only difference between me and a lot of other creatives out there is because I didn't
That's
stop.
endurance. That's it. You
That's
kept
it's like
going.
I was out here doing my own shows with 15 people. That ain't your business. Keep the camera on me.
That part. That
Get
part.
this content.
Yeah.
Get this
Yeah.
footage. Like these shows, like I bought all of this. I was at this church up all night the night before putting my sets up, painting my
Mm.
backdrops, creating
Mhm.
like all of this. My hands are on all of this because I don't have a team. I just didn't stop. I mean, I tried to quit. I would throw in my white flag, but God thought we was playing catch. And
No,
I'm
for
like,
real.
Lord,
He was like back and forth, was back. Your turn. I'm like, I said no. Your turn.
just
I said no. Like, yeah, that, yeah. Frisbee. Frisbee.
literally,
Yes.
okay, white flag. Don't catch. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is a game. I
It's
quit.
not a game, Lord. But he was like, but now it is. I think he's the funniest person ever. He is a comedian. God is absolutely a
Okay.
comedian. But
But
yeah.
yeah, people don't wanna do the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
They don't wanna do the work.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have stuff that I bought to sell that never sold sitting in the closet.
Mm.
But it's not a waste. I learned. I
Yeah.
gained. I keep going.
Yeah. Girl. Okay. What is something shifting a little bit? What is something either in the world, and I really don't like talking like that, but it's so churchy. But what is something in society? What is something in society that is really frustrating you right now? Or something in the body of Christ that is frustrating you right now? Or this year, because maybe there isn't something frustrating you at this very moment.
I mean, the world is always very frustrating. Um, let's flip a
Mhm.
coin.
Mm.
I'll start with the body of
Mhm.
Christ. I think one thing that is frustrating in the body of Christ
Oh boy.
it's just this holier than thou. Like there is a lack of realness and humanity in the body of
Mhm.
Christ. And I think that's the most frustrating thing. And it's like you see it on the large scale, obviously. Just look at the way we discuss war and like immigration. Like you see it on a large scale. But it's the little things, like if somebody makes a simple social media post and all of a sudden they're not saved because they don't live the way that you live, or someone is frustrated with something that God is permitting and all of a sudden they don't have any faith and they don't trust him. And it's just like, at one point, does salvation mean we're no longer human
Mm.
beings?
Mm.
You
Mhm.
know, we're so quick to speak on situations that we've never experienced,
Yeah.
to say what we would and wouldn't
Yeah.
do. And I'm like, child, the right circumstance could make a monkey out of anybody. And so I'm just like, or and also too, like how all of a sudden God agrees with everybody. Like he don't disagree with you ever.
Ever. You're always right.
Y'all
Come on now.
you're always on the same page. Always, to the point where you always know what he's telling somebody and what he didn't tell
Right.
them. It's just like,
Right. Like they don't have
you
their
not
own
nervous?
relationship with him too. Yeah.
I'm like, you not nervous? The ancient days. We talk, we're like, this is a big God. You okay. So I think that's a big one because that lack of realness and humanity, it affects our
Mhm.
compassion. It affects our ability to see a
Mhm.
person and love a person where they
Mhm.
are. Like really love them where they are. And like it's like we all of a sudden become so uncomfortable with other people's mess. And it's just like the Lord may have got you out of your mess 10 years ago, but you still got some
Mhm.
splatter. Like you still got like there's
Mhm.
remnants. Um, and so that really frustrates me because I've seen people just shut down from that. Like I've seen people who are
Mm.
trying to see who this God is, but because they don't get a chance to, because everything they do is being nitpicked and correct. Don't think like that. Don't talk like that. Don't do the. And it's
Mm.
just like
Mm.
we're never gonna get to the heart of the
Mm.
matter if I have to dress up all of my issues in a pretty bow for
Mhm.
you to finally look at them and accept them and see
Mhm.
them. So that's really frustrating. Um, in society, look what we talked about, the dynamic between men and women, because I feel like not everything, but I feel like there's a lot of issues in society and in the church that we would actually be able to get a good handle on if men and women weren't too busy slap boxing with each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm.
Take all of this energy and put it into loving our children
Mhm.
correctly, put it into educating our children correctly, put it into giving children the attention and the time that they
Mhm.
need, put it into helping schools, put it,
Yeah.
like we just spend so much frivolous energy on fighting each other instead of fixing the task at
Right.
hand.
The real task at hand. Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
the real task at hand. It's like, this is stupid. Like we over here slap boxing and our societies are falling
Mhm.
apart. Our children are out here cutting
Yeah.
up, but you can't even see
Mhm.
them because y'all fighting over stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really stupid
Mhm.
stuff. Like very, very dumb stuff. Because it's just like, in light of all of that, when you really look at life for what it is not easy for anybody, for anybody, and we're making it a lot harder, um, specifically on children. Like
Mhm.
I feel for
Mhm.
kids.
Mhm.
I really feel for kids. Like they not growing up in the same world we grew up in.
They are not. They
They're
are
not.
not. And
They're
yeah.
not. Yeah, that really breaks my heart.
Yeah. Mm. I like that because really that's where it all begins. And I'm trying to make sure I use my words carefully. But earlier you said you were raised in love, and it shows. It
Mhm.
shows, sis, that you were raised in love because of the lens of how you see things. And I'm trying to figure out if mine was love or struggle. I think mine might have been struggle.
A mix.
It might have
It could
been
be a mix
mixed, but
between the
heavy on
2.
the struggle. And I think that
Mhm.
growing up, I've learned the love, and I've had to get the love lens. And
Mhm.
so we all,
Ooh, I love that. Get the love lens.
and we all will arrive, our journeys and paths are different, but I believe, if you're trying, if you're trying to see God, we'll all kind of arrive at the same levels eventually.
Mhm.
But that's where it starts. It's like we're even, well, maybe not a metaphor, but there's something we're talking in right now. I'm not even going to try to classify it, but the very thing that you're talking about in terms of like how children need to be like basically nurtured better, and that should be the focus. It's like because you were nurtured well that you can even assess that.
Mhm.
Like you're giving
Yeah.
an example. Yeah, the example is like in the conversation. So I love that. And yeah, I feel like I could elaborate on that more, but I love that. I love that. I want to double back on um, the Black community a little bit. Um, I had a different platform where I talked a lot about the difference between Africans and African Americans
Mm.
and the unity that
Where you from?
Portland, Oregon girl, but
Yeah, you did
I
say that.
am a Nigerian.
Morning, girl.
Because when people ask that, I know what they really mean. Like, you African, ain't you?
Yeah.
So I'm both.
You don't wanna sound like them Americans, but where you from?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in the US of A. My mom is African American and my dad is Nigerian. And so
Okay.
I'm very privileged to have lived both lives in
Mm.
America. It is different in the continent. It is different in Nigeria. But I'm
Mhm.
very, very privileged and fortunate to have lived both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like it growing up. It very much felt like a curse. It very much was giving rejection. Very much was
Mhm.
giving like, which one are you? You need to pick. Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, girl.
Wow.
Yeah, I have I created a whole brand that talks about that. But I've basically decided to use that and put it within this new format that God definitely made it clear to pivot to. Um and the question that we would ask is, and I'm about to ask you, do you know what the
Mhm.
word akata means? Have you ever heard of that word?
No.
Mm. So I'm gonna give you a little bit.
Is that a rare answer?
You
Oh,
said what?
no. I said, "Is it rare for people to say
No, it's
no?"
not. It's
Oh,
literally
okay.
50-50. In my experience, it's literally 50-50 of people saying yes or no. Um, but typically it is used, it's a Nigerian word, typically used to describe African Americans or the African American community. And in my experience, I would say college and young adult, phase, it was negative. It was negative. And so then that's why I started everything that I've done underneath the Akata brand. And
Oh.
but then I learned that other people actually don't think that it's negative. They don't feel like it has a negative connotation and that it's just a
Hmm.
way to describe people and it's nothing. And then there's been debates, like it's a whole thing. And so I really was like, well, let's get beyond the word. And so the next question to
Yeah.
you is even beyond the word, have you experienced um um have you experienced a division between the African and African American community? And if so, how did it make you feel as a Black woman? And what do you think are some of those things that are causing it?
I would say in college,
Mm,
yes, the division was obvious. So I went to a predominantly white Bible
mhm.
school, and so there was already a division. Like the Black folk, we already was like
Let's stick
glued to
together.
each other's lips. It wasn't a
Mm,
lot of us, but you would even see the Black students together, and then I guess what we would call the real African Americans, because they're actually from the continent,
mm,
they were together.
mm,
So we didn't really mix.
mm,
Maybe there was maybe I had one good friend who was South African, and maybe one other person that I talked to.
mhm,
But other than that, we didn't really. we didn't really
Yeah.
mix. I was a part of the Black student group, and we had a night where we discussed that. But even in the room, we didn't even sit together. It was
Wow.
just like
Mhm.
this. It was like people on the panel and then us. And I think I think why we all came to the panel, it was kind of like unspoken, but the way this panel went would decide if we were gonna get along.
Wow.
Like if we were
Mhm.
attempt, we wouldn't even attempt to speak to
Mhm.
each other. There was no attempt. And I know even for us, like if we would see a Black person, we'd be like, "Oh, what's another one?" But then we wouldn't like. Sometimes you can't tell where they
Mhm.
from,
Mhm.
right? So even then, we're trying to gauge like, do we approach? Do we not approach? And so it was unspoken.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was very much like that. But even in the panel we did, it was just a weird mix because I think for us, the Black students, it was one of those like, it's not our fault that we're here. It was, I think that was pretty much that mentality. Is like we would feel like we were being
Mm.
penalized for being American,
Yep.
and we're just like, well, we didn't want to come. Like we kind of were kidnapped.
Yeah.
All those. And so I think a lot of it though is kind of like once you feel rejected, you kind of be like, well, forget you. And then everything from there just
Right.
spirals.
And there's no real
Everything else.
connecting, there's no real moments of transparency and conversation and just understanding, which
Exactly.
really is the key thing that I've learned, through this. I always call it an obsession. Through this obsession that I've had for 10 plus years, I've just learned that there's just this big misunderstanding, and some of it was created on purpose, and then some of it is happenstance.
Mhm.
But yeah, and yeah, I think certain things that would frustrate me, things that I've heard is like, "Oh, well, I have a country to go back to. If I want to go back home, I can go back home. You cannot go back home." And I'm like, "No, what? Why do we like? Why do we? How do
Well,
we get?"
we fighting. We fighting.
Sorry, it's just like, how do?
Oh,
Why did you put the boxing gloves on? Like, I don't.
yeah.
I can't respond to that. Like,
There is no response. There is no response.
Yeah, and then vice versa, I'm hearing one other thing that I often always, say is, I always felt like growing up, I felt like a secret agent. People didn't
Mm.
know which ethnicity I was, and so I hear all the jokes, I
Oh,
hear all the
yeah.
things on both sides, and so
And they both kind of throwing blows at you because you're getting, because even the positive is a negative. It's like there's no win
and
for you.
I would just be like, "Yeah, I'm Nigerian." Like, you
Mm,
hear a lot of the
yeah,
like, Africans, they stink. They just, they think they know everything and da da da.
yeah.
There are some things that are a little on the true side. Sometimes we could be know-it-alls. That's my personal experience. I do think we need to work
Mm,
on that. And it's a pride, right? It's just like a pride. But
yeah.
again, back to what we said before of like not diminishing other people just because you're proud of
Mhm.
who you are. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but I had to ask that question. I guess, as a poet, do you feel you see any of that kind of division like in the circles that you're in, or no?
I'm actually no, but I think mainly because any of the poets that I know, they were born in the
Okay.
States. They're either like, if they're not, they're like first
Okay.
generation.
Okay.
And so you don't really see a lot of that. I think mainly because in my
That's good
circles. Now I
though.
don't know about everybody.
Yeah.
And two, because I think poetry is just a beautiful way for people to begin to incorporate their culture. So poetry, I think, and that's one thing I love about teaching in like classrooms. Poetry, you kind of naturally, you're in a position to listen to somebody. You're in a position to see
Mm,
somebody because I don't have a
mm,
choice. Like poetry is a very vulnerable art form.
mhm.
And so just a beautiful place for you to get on that stage and I finally hear you and see
Yeah.
you. It's not a combative
It's not a
thing.
two-way. It's one way. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So Yeah, but yeah, honestly though, when it comes to like a lot of stuff like that, I be laying low because I'm like, I've heard the African American debates. I have the colorism stuff and I'm light skinned. And so there's just a lot. So I think growing up, I just became real like, y'all hostile.
Yeah, like, this too much for
It's just
me,
like
yeah.
I'ma just chill. Like I'ma just chill because I can't say nothing about because anything else is gonna be an automatic attack. I mean, I'm older now, so I'm like, I ain't scared. But I think growing up, I just kind of began to take a back seat to
Mhm.
stuff because I was just like, why is everybody so
Yeah,
angry?
yeah.
Like, where is the
Yeah.
love? Where's there's a lot to be
Can't we all
angry
just
about.
get
But I'm also
along?
I'm like, are there no
Mm.
teams? Let's be mad at the right people, guys. I'm not your enemy.
We are the same, golly.
Okay, I'm like, I think we're shooting in the wrong direction. The war is that way, and we're over here.
We're laughing, but there is truth in that statement, my goodness.
Okay, and I ain't trying to catch no more strays.
That part, yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that that's not been, an issue in some of the circles that you've been in, and I hope that it continues to go the way. I feel like I do see a progression, but I think what the reason why the obsession is still kind of there is like we're still not getting really to the core of it. Like we're still
That's probably
doing
why.
surface, and it's good
Yeah,
that I see us together. It's good that I see us having the conversations. I love it. Gotta love it, but
go a little
let's
deeper.
let's dig. Let's get a shovel. Let's
Go a
really
little
do the
bit. Let's dig.
work. Okay, let's really do the works because
Yeah.
if not, we're gonna keep revisiting this, and that goes across the board. That goes for this nation. That goes for when we kind of sort
Mhm.
of want to address slavery. Like it goes for all of that. It goes for all of that. We have to
Yep.
get to the core.
'Cause it's a lot. It's a lot. And
It
yeah.
is a lot.
And sometimes I'm still like very mindful about how I approach certain topics. Cause I get booked for different things and they want it very black. And I'm like, I can do very black. But then sometimes they want motherland in there. And I'm just like, I ain't trying to catch no strays. And so it's almost like what's okay, what's not okay. You know
Mhm,
what I'm
mhm,
saying? Like
mhm.
what to wear, what not to wear. And so it's just
Yeah.
like I just know sometimes like the water calm, but that don't mean ain't no crocodiles under there ready to just, you
You are
know,
so
what I'm
good with
saying?
words. Yes, that's exact
Like,
bro, I feel like that often. I'll be like, "Some ooh, you trying to trick me. This is a trick. I know."
because you're not allowed, like you said, you can't show up 100% yourself because you have to show up 100% what somebody else wants you to
Yeah,
show up as, or else you not on the
yeah.
right team. And so it's just like, can I speak my truth or not? Because when I try to speak the truth that I've experienced and what I believe, it's the issue because you don't agree with it. But y'all be real quick to speak your truth and live your life and show up as you. But the minute the way I show up don't agree with you, I'm not saved. I don't believe. I'm a sellout. I'm a coon. And I'm just like,
N
can we check the rule book?
I'm a the rule book. Can we check the rule book and then assess that with my black card? Because it's
Okay.
so funny. I'm okay. Cool. Okay, this is not where I was trying to go. Quick pivot though. That is not only do I feel like that in circles of the African community, the black community, I also feel that in the Christian circles, and feeling like I actually started a poem. I don't know if I finished it. I can't remember. I usually start a lot of poems and spoken words and don't ever finish them. I know you don't want to hear that. I'm sorry, but I usually start them, and it's really just a place for me to vent sometimes. And I had wrote a piece that was something like it might be untitled, but I think it started with no, I think I did title it they say be yourself, but then when
Mhm.
you do, you people pleasing. Or when you do, why you ain't gotta do all that. Maybe do it this way. It's like, what do you
Yep.
want? And it's just like in the very in another piece that I have that I actually did perform a couple weeks ago. You'd be proud of
Okay.
that, but probably people won't see it. But no one will ever see it. But and in that piece, I just talk about like how the body doesn't treat the body the way it's supposed to be treated, and
Mhm.
how the Bible actually specifically says for us to treat each other with love and with care, and to
Mhm.
the stranger too, which is a whole other thing. But yeah, it just speaks to like, what do you do when in the very space you're supposed to feel yourself and comforted. This is supposed to be like where you can be yourself and all of that. And then it's like I'm just as rejected in here than I am rejected out there. Like, where do I belong, yo?
Hello? That part.
Where on earth do I belong? So yeah, we
Karma.
we we still have some work to
When
do.
you keep to yourself, you get punished.
You said what?
You keep to yourself, you get
That
punished. There's no win. There's no win.
you need to come out or be social. Come on, da da da. And then don't. I always find it interesting. I visited a lot of churches. I've always find it so interesting when churches will be like, "Make sure to connect with us after church." Da, 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 da. And then you do, and they be looking at you like, "Who are you? Like, where did she come from? Why is she like?" At least that's
Why
my
you
experience.
here?
I know everybody doesn't have that, and I know it just depended on like personality and all these other things, but
Yeah,
that's been my experience a lot, and I'll try to like go outside of my comfort zone and talk more to people, try to
yeah.
connect all that stuff, and it's still met with okay, bye. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Hence the show. Unpopular. I will be
Hello?
talking a lot about that. But yeah, I feel like there's still a lot of work that we have to do. And to me, I think of it as like a family. Like we have to come together as a
Yeah,
family and talk about it before we
yeah,
because then we won't expect other people to want to come into the fold because we don't even like
yeah.
anyway, I want to ask you. So I have some unpopular questions that I like to ask. Have
Okay.
you ever been called like weird or different or a name that was off-putting or embarrassing?
Yes.
What was it?
I got called weird a lot.
Mm,
I got called weird a lot.
mm.
That's probably the most common one. I get called mean a lot.
Weird for what? Like, what were some of the things? Do you remember?
I mean, I was the very highly imaginative
Mhm.
child, so I was
Okay.
weird. I played really hard. I talked to myself. I read a lot. Like all I did was read.
That's
I
awesome.
was the Bible girl. I was always bringing up Jesus. So I didn't really fit in. I just didn't fit in.
Where were you? I
I
just
just
feel like when you get older, you start meeting people and you're like, "So, where were you in 5th grade?" This sucks. Like
but I was also the one who, like, if you wanted to come over, I would be like, "My mama said no."
She not playing those games.
Yes, I was the little nerdy girl who loved to read and talk about Jesus. Um, but I was weird, and I really kept to myself, and I
Yeah.
played really, really hard. Like, I lived.
Listen, that's awesome. I
I was a little
She's
wild.
like, "I was 5 and at a time." Like, you
I had
already
time. You hear
living your
me?
best life at 5.
Me and my imaginary friends, we was living it.
I love it.
Kidding me?
Listen, I was the same way, minus the nerdy part. Reading, no. Wasn't your thing. Wasn't your girl's thing. But I caught up and finally decided that might be best for my life. But I, definitely had a huge imagination. Um, I was I was kind of a stickler though. Like I had a whole girl group and everything. It was like, let's go practice, da da da. I need to hear it higher. Like no
Yeah, I'd have
music.
been like, "I'm out." It's too much pressure.
I brought the pressure. Yes, I did. Not even gonna lie. Have you ever been shaded before or curved or swerved?
Yes.
Whatever. Mm. She's like, I talk about it. I talk about it in my work. Like
Indirect well, I don't shoot my shot often. Is that what you're talking about?
no.
What you
But
talking
we
about?
can go there. I mean
No,
in
no, no, what
general.
you talking about?
People just like on red, just shade, just throwing shade your way at any point in your life have you felt like
Indirectly, not to my face.
I know she was like, they wouldn't do it to my face though.
I was like, why would you do that? Like, come on now, simmer down. Um, so
Simmer down.
let me do a recap to my face. To my face.
I haven't
No,
heard simmer down in a long time. That's hilarious.
simmer down. Not to my face because I think people knew like I kept to myself but like you're not about to punk me. I was bullied. They tried to bully me,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, what? Like, I was just so like, I think I cried. I was at a new school. I cried the first few days, but then I was like, absolutely not.
We're not having this no more.
I was like, y'all not gonna do this. Nah. So nah. I was like, who y'all talking to?
That's
It's just like I
bully them
just had
back.
a moment where I woke up and I was like, this is what we're not gonna do. Like I'm not
Bro, I promise you I had a very similar experience, but I think my brothers had something to do with it. I same thing. I remember my friends would tell me like, I'm like, man, I was always bullied, da 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 da. And she was like, but you a bully, your bully's back. And I'm like, you think so? Like, I felt like I was so like timid
yeah.
and docile and just like let people walk over me. And she was like, nah, you was all you always had something to come back with. I'm like, did so it's so interesting how people, how people see
Yeah.
you. But yeah, I guess I was a little bit the same way. I just kind of woke up and was just like, nah, we're not doing this
I was
anymore.
like, every day?
Um
Y'all
like
me every day? I was like,
y'all don't have there's nobody else here. There's no homework we need to do.
and the teacher is letting it slide. That gave me all the
That's
green light I
wild.
needed. I said, I wish you would put your hands on me.
Wow. Not the teachers letting it
Probably
happen.
was scared. I was like,
See, yeah, they wasn't bold enough to do it in front of teachers. Not around my way,
mm,
my little Portland way. Why did you become a Christian?
I
I know it's kind of loaded.
I grew up in church, so it's kind of like a tricky. I was like, my daddy was a pastor. I think, and like as a kid, I think I had a very genuine relationship with him, even as a child.
Mhm, mhm,
Um, and so
yeah.
I think I had my moments though, but I think I've always believed, and I think
Mhm,
I've stayed one because he kept me. Ain't
mhm,
no answer beyond like he kept me because you be getting some questions and some it's like, Lord, I don't know.
mhm.
Um, but I
But he loves questions. Let me tell you,
yeah.
he loves them. And then lastly, or second to last, what is your unpopular claim or moment or opinion? What is in an unpopular claim, moment, or opinion that you
I have so many. My favorite lately
have?
is that you are not entitled to know every single thing about your friends. And my second is
Mm.
ditch the traditional weddings and do what you want. Team no bridesmaids.
You said nothing but a word, honey. Yeah, that second part, nothing but a word. That first one, I feel like I saw something on like IG or Threads or something the other day. I just grandma. I'm really not the
Is
age
it
of
the
a
Facebook?
millennial. The book of the face, like child. I'm really not a millennial. I've been lying to people my whole life. I am a grandma. But I'm finally on Threads, and I think I saw on Threads somebody say like believers. It was like men and women of God are not. Oh, I think I know who it was too, but it was like men and women of God are not called to remember your birthday, to always know your birthday, or always call you on your birthday or something. And I was like, ooh, 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 that's gonna hurt
That
a
is
few
actually
people.
hilarious.
I was like, ooh,
Because they be
that's gonna
packing.
that's gonna hurt a few. That's gonna hurt a few, y'all. But I love that though. We are not entitled to know everything about our friends. And how can we? We are always evolving. I have changed so much this year.
You didn't tell
So
me.
much
Why you ain't tell me?
this year has been ooh, child. That part. And not everyone's gonna like it, but I've learned that I can't make everyone like it or understand it. I gotta take care of me
Because best believe they got some
and be
things told
obedient.
you.
That part. I just need that part. That part. I just have to be obedient. And if it offends somebody, please take that up with the Father. That's where I've decided to just land.
Take it to
So
Jesus. Now
take
I'm
it
gonna
to
just start
Jesus.
singing "What a Friend We Have in Jesus." Whenever
What a friend we wait. Am I saying it right? Wait,
Mhm.
I'm mixing
Oh,
up my songs. Is that the
I'm
right
gonna say, "Oh, what needless pains you bear." All because you didn't say yes to the boyfriend. You
Yeah.
carrying this because you keep coming to me. Release your burden. Take it to the
Exactly.
wall.
Yeah, release it to the right one. That's good. I could do this.
I was gonna say this was fun.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Jasmine Sims, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I thank you so much for accepting the invitation, coming on, being your authentic self, and sharing your unpopular claim.
Thank you so much for having me. Y'all watch the podcast every episode, okay?